Hey everybody, it's Bob Phibbs, the retail doc, trying a new virtual interactive platform this morning. I'm glad you're here joining me. Please make sure that you type in where you're joining me from, because that's always interesting. We have people from all around the world, whether it's every continent, every country, and whether you're watching me live or on replay. I am thrilled that you are here with me today on Sunday, October 4th. And it's 9 a.m. If you are watching this on the replay, then I will be answering your questions after I have done my program today. So I just wanted to start off today because I realize that a lot of you may not know much about me. So I am a motivational speaker and writer. Up until March 13th, I was on a plane pretty much every week telling people around the world what to do better with their retail stores. That all changed during the pandemic, and now I'm more of a broadcaster than a public speaker. So I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. There's a few of them, all the way down to regional chains and individual mom and pops. I know, exactly, Sharon. It's so fancy. Exactly. I'm the author of 3 books. My most recent was The Retail Doc's Guide to Growing Your Business, which is available from Wiley. There's still a few available. You can go to my site at retaildoc.com. I'm the Creative Sales RX online virtual training. We have over 120 lessons on how to train your crew, exactly how to engage a stranger, discover the shopper, build rapport, sell the merchandise, handle objections, and oh, that's right, close the sale, because that's all that matters. If you can't close the sale, you're more of a hobby than a business. And if you're not living the life that you want, you need to look at the way you are selling that merchandise, because nothing makes me more upset than when I see the news media articles that show a store full of merchandise that's going out of business, and the person is complaining about online and retail and the economy and everybody else, but the fact that you never learned how to sell your merchandise, dude, which is why you're going out of business. Because unless you sell enough of the merchandise at a profit to pay employees and live the life you want, you have some work to do. And so I'm glad that you're joining me here today. And that's why I am a top voice on LinkedIn with over 400,000, almost 400,000 followers. And there's about 17,000 on Facebook and Twitter and all over the place. So I hope you like the fancy new screen. I'm trying some new things in the last few days. You know, the one thing that is so imperative on me as the retail doc, I hate that word pivot. It's just right up there. I just want to scream. You know, I'm just doing what I always do, which is sharing what I know to be true about retail in a new way. So I'm broadcasting, and I've got to stay current, and I've trying to find new ways to do that. And if you are game, towards the end, I'm going to try something. Rebecca, if you were on with me this morning, I asked you to send me a note. You can put it into comments below, and we will try something at the end, because she has a question about how to make her Zoom meetings more interactive and interesting. And I thought I'd share one of the tools that I'm using right now. But, you know, it's fraught with danger. There's a chance that I could screw up, and I could do something wrong and hit the wrong button, or you're sitting there waiting while I'm doing it. And you know what the interesting thing is I've come to realize that the more I let you into my process, the more I let you into what's going on, the more it seems to make a difference with you as far as following and sharing my content. So I hope you're game for that. That's why I'm trying so many different things, is to master it, because you cannot learn virtual alone. You know, you ultimately have to go live and then go, now what do I do? Because this is a lot like rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time. We are used to having people take care of all that stuff for us. And all I have to worry about is getting onto a stage and making sure that I'm passionate. And I still have all of that. It's just I've also got to be worried about, where do I click this? Where do I click that? Don't hit that. All right. So I appreciate y'all being here this morning. And I appreciate there's so many of you joining in. I'm going to go on. So I thought what I would do is to try showing you actually the questions today, instead of me just reading them off to you. So Virginia asks, what do you think of virtual catalogs like from Issue as a marketing device? So Virginia, I have to tell you, I have a couple of newsletters I get, a couple of catalogs I get. And when they come up to that format that I have to click around and find it, I just find that a miserable customer experience myself. I think if it works for you, I'm always a big believer. If it works for you and it's building sales, that's great. But honestly, for me to go and click through a catalog to page 59 to try to find something, I would rather be able to enter a search. So that would be the question to you. Can I enter a search on the document to find out what I'm looking for? Or can you give me navigation that is super easy? Because when it's that click and you hear that click, I just don't think that builds great anything. So I hope that helps. Hey, Carol, I'm glad you're watching for a change as well. Yes, I'm glad you don't like that word pivot. Yeah. Hey, Tim, glad you're joining from Australia this morning. Thanks so much. So let's go to the next custom question coming in from top fan Lauren. And she says, how would you respond to a customer and ask you where you stand on current events? I had a customer reach out on Instagram to ask and wanted to make sure to align with his beliefs before he continued to buy from us. My plan was just to reply with what nonprofits we donate to. Lauren, that is such a great question. And I wish I had a great answer for you. I don't, because I think the reality comes down to what do you end up doing when you do say, I support this? Then the next level goes, well, how do you do that? And then you have this dialogue around it. And I am sure I'm not popular here because I think it's just really fraught with a lot of challenges. So if it's working for you, I don't know what happened with why the video just cleaned up, because I'm using StreamYard. I haven't touched any of my settings. So this is a perfect reason why we're trying all of this. I see you all talking on the chat there. So just to get back to serious, I know that a buddy of mine is CEO of a major company, and he was saying, people were early saying, you've got to come out with support of this one very big movement right now. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to be reactive and say, oh, yes, we do this, and then see it. And a lot of brands got burned because I think they found out that, you can't just say something, you ultimately have to end up showing it. So I would love to hear what you are doing and how that's working, Lauren, because I don't think that's a bad idea, the nonprofits you donate to. But if somebody's going to have a litmus test for who you will and won't, and let's be honest, this is going to be something that if you have a millennial, Gen Z, a younger demographic that you cater to, it's hugely important to them as social issues. So finding that way through it, I think, is going to be imperative. But I just see the other side, which can be fraught with some challenges for you. Hey, Virginia, I'm glad you like that. So, Robert, is it unreasonable to expect an employee to answer calls, messages, texts while off the clock? I don't think so, but I'm not why you're writing me. There's a whole situation with a new employee and otherwise good employees, just difficult to reach when there are questions about the previous shift works. So I always go back to, Robert, was the expectation put out there when you first started? In other words, when you hired him, did you say that was going to be a job requirement? If not, then shame on you. So first step would be go back and amend your job description because you can say that. Number two is number two, not A, B would be, for gosh sakes, how many things are there questions about that someone regularly has to be asked after shift is ended? And if there are a lot, then I always say, get the red book. You can Google it, the red book. It's not cheap. It can come out every quarter. You can have it every month. But basically, it has these spaces where you put your goals in. You could talk about what happened on the shift. Somebody needs to follow up. This lady had a problem. This guy wanted information. And it's basically how shifts talk to each other through the day. It's really important for the holiday season, I think. I've used it in restaurant, I've used it in hotel, and I've used it in apparel. So it's not cheap. When I was using it, I think they were $25 a month. So that would be one way, I think, to do it. But also, just procedurally, is there a lot that you really need to talk to this person about? If it's not, if we're talking about a text a month, a week, or something, I think that's reasonable. I think, how you handle that? You have a conversation with them. You take them aside. You say, so what is the issue? You're getting texts on my dime all the time when you're at work. So if you get a few from me, what's the issue? And maybe he says, because it's something stupid that you should have known, that I'm training an employee who's not, there's dialogue there. So that's what I would encourage. I hope that I hope that helps because that's really what makes the difference there. All right, so next question is, Sales RX. I hope you will join me. We are going to be doing a special event the middle of October where we're going to take another batch of retailers. And this time we're going to be talking about how do you hire better and seasonal training. And I'm actually going to be working with a small group of retailers for about 3 weeks to get you ready for the holiday season. And there'll be more about that later. Elizabeth asks, Christmas stock, what date should be the last day we reorder depleted stock so we don't have leftover items? Elizabeth, I think most retailers would have had a fixed date in their head and they'd be like, yes, this is what you would do. But with product so out of kilter right now, with supply chains so out of kilter and distribution companies taking orders but then not really having it, I am a big believer of, first off, know your numbers. Are you just buying because you're out of the one widget that the one widget that you like to sell and you just want to get more in? Or are you going through and really out of a significant amount? So I always say when you get to Thanksgiving, I think that is a drop dead. I think a lot of vendors are going to have really attractive buys when you get in about a month. Because they've got warehouses where people just canceled orders at the end. And let's face it, a lot of retailers went out. So I'm in no hurry to run down that, because when January hits, we're going to have a new news about whether it's the pandemic or the economy, the election will have happened, all sorts of things. I just don't want to be sitting on merch. I would rather you learned how to sell it better. So I hope that helps. All right. And Emily asked me, we are mostly an online retailer. We're now opening a storefront. Good for you. That's what an awful lot of direct-to-consumer brands are doing. Are there any good apps or resources to assist us in planning our merchandise floor plan? We're looking to make sense of the space for shoppers. I actually will show you something in just a second. And in a small boutique store, is it okay not to have a physical space to complete the checkout? Absolutely. It totally is. And if I was building a store, I would really look at why do we have this big space we devote to the counter, which is filled with all kinds of stuff that is non-essential, and it just becomes that drawer we all have in our homes with a bunch of keys that we don't know what it goes with, and 100 rubber bands and 50 different sized paper clips because, I might need this. And that's kind of what the counters have become. So I totally believe in allowing virtual checkout processes wherever you can. Whether it's Apple or Google Pay or PayPal or Afterpay, or there's a million of them that could be done by a tablet or an iPad. So I am right there. As far as I give you a little bonus, because I can do this, when I talk about merchandising, the number one thing to realize in North America is we come into a store and we want to circle around counterclockwise. That's pretty much what we do in a store. And so the big mistake so many retailers do is they put the cash wrap, the counter, although you're not going to have a counter, so maybe that's it. But they put the counter where that red arrow is. And why is that a problem? Because as people have come around the store and they're right about that pink arrow or green arrow, they want to go to the counter. So what do? They have to cut through the store. And now you have people trying to enter and people trying to leave. And so that bottleneck is right up at the front, which means it's really hard to get through. And notice with social distancing and some of the other things we're going to have to deal with, it's going to make it really hard. So you always want the counter over where that green arrow is. You want it so that people naturally are going to go there and then they go out the door, and you're best and brightest in that first third. So that's your little merchandising tip here this morning. I hope that helps. And Rebecca, I don't see, is Rebecca on here? Because Rebecca, it would be so awesome if you were. But I don't see you on, and I was going to ask you to role play with me, but anybody else would like to go live with me, put it in chat and let me know, and I will try something with you at the end. If not, we'll do that next week. I'll try to get somebody on next week, but it is definitely the future of where we are going to go. Okay, so Rebecca asks, I'm offering a small group of 20 to 30-minute Zoom classes for makeup techniques. I know how to reach my audience, but I don't know how to present the class in a fun way. Everything I come up with over-explains. How do I make it sweet and simple? So the easy answer to that, Rebecca, is do it with a friend over at Starbucks. or your favorite coffee company. Just talk to them in person and film it. You don't have to get too technical. And I think too many people go through and they get caught up in the features, and the features really aren't important. But the thing that you could do, Rebecca, on a very basic level here, what I'm doing is just make a presentation and have the before and after. And then you could call somebody in and actually have them join your live stream right then. And you've got a really engaging way to do it. Also, you could use polling. Polling is one way to do it. But make no mistake, the trouble with virtual is several of you, I'm sure, right now are checking email, or you're talking to somebody, or there's something else going on. You don't really have their attention. So the more you can mix it up and you can change things out, the better I think it all becomes for everybody. So I just think especially when it comes to makeup techniques, the last example I would suggest is go on YouTube and look at the highest rated makeup YouTube tutorials and look at what they do and how they do it. Because the other thing you can do is you can add overlays. There's a lot of different ways you can make it interesting. And that's actually what I'm working on, is finding new ways that I can show different techniques. I could go through and I could show you, for example, right now, I could show you how to do a store tour. And I would say, oh, well, watch Heidi. She knows how to do it. The only thing is I haven't set up the audio for it. So I would have to be ready for it to do that. Heidi, I know you're on here. So there you go. But all that to make it understand that we are at a new place for creativity when it comes to virtual and to live broadcasts. And you don't have to just do a Zoom. There's a million ways you can do it. And I'm going to be experimenting with that as I go through the next 30 days, because I'm going through and challenge myself to try and learn different things. And the more you're along with me on the journey, you're going to see failures. And you know what? Failures is ultimately how we end up growing and changing. So I hope that helps, Rebecca. And it looks like oh, yeah, that's right. I have a bonus for you today. I'm going to be having a 5 ways to regain profitability this holiday season. It's going to be on Thursday, October 13th. I'm announcing it tonight in the newsletter. You can join there. It's not going to cost you a thing. And I'll have an offer for what I will be doing for this holiday season to get you ready as well. But the thing to remember as we come into the true fall season is there's going to be a lot of doom and gloom. There's going to be a lot of stuff that is going to be misinformation. And just remember, your goal is to stay focused. I don't have the luxury of a negative thought. I've got to find hope every day. I've got to make sure that I am making my employees' day so they're going to make the customer's day. And it is easy to get on your little groups that Heidi, I'm going to try again, make it better. It was perfect. All right. There are a lot of little groups you can get on and talk about how it sucks to be you, and you're going to toy retailers. If that's you, gift shops, if that's you, photo retailers, if that's you, jewelry companies, please just don't participate in it. Because at the end of the day, you're only building more fear and anxiety in yourself. You want to be of service. You want to help people. Say, this is one thing I've done. Let them see the process, or say, hey, I failed at this, but this is what we took from it instead. But it just doesn't help any of us, especially at this time when there's going to be social distancing. There's going to be limited amount of people who can be in your store, and a lot of people have anxiety. The place to get rid of anxiety is where first? With you. And that's the same with me as well. So the more that we can go through and just find new things to do, find new ways to communicate what we know is right in the world, I think we build a better life and a better place. And ultimately, I think we can change the world by the people working and shopping in retail. If we just remember, it's up to us to find hope every day. So with that in mind, I'm going to close off my broadcast. Who knows what you're going to see next week when I do this. And I do that as long as I get 5 questions. And by the way, I think it may open this so that you could maybe have a Google document that you could submit through the week, because apparently me going out on Saturdays, Facebook has really lowered the amount of people that see it. It's down to 120, I think, my post yesterday. So I had to boost it. And you really don't want to boost posts that aren't making you money or getting people to actually see what you do. So that's another thing you could consider sometime. Ask me a question about vanity metrics on Facebook and YouTube. What should I be aware of? Because there's some things you should definitely know about that. With that, I'm Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me today. And if you liked what I had to say, certainly enter it in comments if there's something that you particularly liked, or you want me to talk about the next time. And even better, give me the love, give me the likes. If you're on LinkedIn, give me the, there you go. Give me the hand claps, because the algorithms are always looking for that. Remember, you don't have the luxury of a negative thought. Thanks so much.